What's up, chat? Welcome back to the stream. It's Monday. We are indulging ourselves in a little bit of mayhem. I'm here in an absolute disaster zone of a studio right now because one of my cats, who will remain nameless, destroyed one of my shelves. So my desk in the back is full of things that used to stay on it. And I need to, I don't know, find somewhere else to put them. So we're looking a little unkempt today, I guess. But I want to talk about a couple of team events that went down over the last couple of weeks. We had one going down this weekend, as well as one last weekend, and we had some really weird results from the top placing teams to talk about. Also, they used a kind of non-standard format, which I sort of appreciate, and we'll talk about how that works. Actually, don't know how it works because I have no idea how to get access to the event packets, but I don't know. It's kind of cool. So that's what we're going to be into. Not a lot of singles played to talk about this weekend because obviously it was Christmas weekend this past week. If you listened to my best armies in 40K video from this morning, then you'll know that it was slim pickings for competitive event results. But that being the case, we're still going to talk about some cool stuff. So it's going to be sweet. Glass City GT this weekend. Folger Powell's going to be there. Hell yeah, dude. Hopefully he's doing good. Our previous world champion until unfortunately supply drop happened. Which is interesting. Bryce Sullivan finally given up on Tyranids this edition. A charge of 5-man space with Terminator, the Trigon Prime killed one and then died. Welcome to the dark side, my friend. That is the Tyranid experience. You go, here's my mighty monster. It costs many hundreds of points. I will attack you many times, and your opponent goes, -1 to wound. You would be on 4s now. Okay. And then I will Armor of Contempt, and I save on 3s, and it takes 2 conversions to kill me. And you're like doing the math in your head. I was like, I have 12 attacks. I'm going to miss 2. All right, now I have 10. I'm going to wound 5, and then you're going to save probably 4 of them. I might kill a guy. Oh no, this is not going well. Yeah, there's a reason that I haven't played Tyranid since the index got nerfed. Basically, since 18 Zoanthropes was no longer viable. And that's the reason. that's almost entirely it. Anyway, chat. Let's talk about some team events. Let's start more recently. I want to take you on a little journey over here to China, which is kind of sick. Like, honestly, it's really cool when we get to jump on these streams and talk about Warhammer 40K happening in cool places around the world, and China being one of them. Not a place that I would necessarily expect for there to have been a lot of 40K going on. But we do have a Chinese Team Championship going on over here in Shanghai, which is cool. It's right there on the left-hand side, the upper left-hand side of the country, kind of. Oh, I guess not quite the upper. It's mostly the middle. But now you know. Now you know where that's happening. So that's good. Yeah, so they ran a team tournament. 10 teams registered. 40 total players played in the event. And it was won by Ultimate Sofa Blue. Ultimate Sofa actually dominated the event. They took first and second, apparently. Good job, Team Ultimate Sofa. But we want to talk about exactly what they won with. And the cool thing about these smaller events is that we get to talk about some sort of stranger archetypes that aren't necessarily played in singles. Now, both this and the other team tournament we're going to be talking about today ran this 4-player format. And it's interesting. This is the other one that we'll talk about. It's interesting that this has become common because I don't think I've ever seen it before. And I don't know if it uses a standardized pairing process. So I have no idea how in-depth these teams have tried to finagle their team composition to win particular matchups. I imagine that because it's such a limited player pool on each team, these players largely just played whatever was good, because the smaller team size you get, the less control each team has over their respective pairings. So you lose the ability to really like try to skew particular matchups in any particular direction. So, taking like answers for specific enemy factions or armies that are trying to do a very specific thing that could be countered gets much less consistent because you could just lose control of the pairing process and just get locked into a matchup that's not necessarily good. So most of your armies want to be more well-rounded in these smaller, like 3 or 4 player team formats. Now, I know a lot of team formats, they end up like ranking their players, and then you play rank versus rank. I don't know if they did that or they did like a attacker defender slot thing here. If they did attacker defender, it would basically take like 2 pairs, and then you would have all 4 pairings, which I guess would make the pairing process very easy. But I don't know if it would really create that much of a shakeup for you. Anyway, let's talk about what did well. So first off, ni hao, I say to our friend ni hao over here, who is playing Rage Cursed Onslaught. More new Grot Mist Blood Angels doing well. This detachment kind of came out swinging. Everybody's in on the Rage Cursed Onslaught because it turns out reroll's good. I don't know. Rerolls and plus attacks. Let's go. What a time to be alive. So we're rocking here. A Master of the Red Thirst Chaplain. So that's the once per game fight first enhancement. The nice thing about the Chaplain having that is that you can absorb an attack but still retain your +1 to wound, so you're not necessarily banking on any lance effects like you would with a Sanguinary Guard squad with lances, and you're not banking on your captains to give you +1 strength on the charge because you just have permanent -1 to wound, regardless of how long the combat's been going. So this guy can absorb a charge and then fight first, hopefully kill whatever's charged at him. We also have Lamarties, so we probably have 2 Death Company Marine bricks. Yeah, there is 2 or 3. Oh, Death Company Foot Marines. Sick. 2 Death Company Marine bricks with jump packs. Is it a regular Chaplain? Yeah, Chaplain jump pack. So one of them is going to get -1 damage. So we can -1 damage, absorb through a lot of attacks, and then the Death Company also have a fight on death. So the other one will fight first once per game. So both of these units can commit very aggressively. You can 5-up Feel No Pain, fight on death, do whatever to Lamarty's brick. The other brick will just hit you first, and then it doesn't matter what happens to them. So, but they can. The idea, ideally, is that either of these units can hit you, and then if they don't get shot to death, they can then absorb a second round of attacks. So if you're in a melee matchup, these guys will largely out-threaten most other armies in the game because they're move 12, advance and charge if they want it. So they can hit something, and if your opponent doesn't have a solid enough shooting to kill 20 jump pack Marines with a million stack defensive mechanics, then you have to run into these like sort of interrupts that your opponent has on the crackback. So like one of them will fight, the other one will fight on death. Both of those units will get to fight in the swingback, and against an army that is primarily melee focused, these guys are going to get to double their duty essentially. Not to mention the fact that Lamarty's grants lethals, so his unit also, especially into like high toughness enemies, is gonna feel very much like they get +1 to wound as well, so that you don't necessarily need it only from the Chaplain. So both of these units are hit. They absolutely slap. We have a captain with jump pack with Angel's Fang that is sustained hits 2 against character monster vehicle. The nice thing here as well is that the Death Company units gain built-in hit rerolls, so they don't need Oath of Moment to do stuff. So we can then Oath of Moment whatever the jump pack captain charges into, and then fish for sustain 2 on his big Thunderhammer, so he could get just a million extra attacks, potentially. It's like a Ragefield Warrior without all the extra steps. We have a Death Company captain, so we have an attachment for our Foot Death Company squad, which is, I guess, honestly, the Foot Death Company squad is 160 points. They get I don't know what their ability is. Is it sustained hits? It is sustained hits 2, or it's sustained hits 1 if it's below starting strength, or excuse me, it's sustained hits 1 if it's below starting strength. Sustained hits 2 if it's below half strength. And you get another unit. And then the Death Company captain, the Foot captain, grants them 6-inch scout. and he deals mortal wounds when he's destroyed. So the unit's fast, and they're actually very good at taking a charge, because you can fight on death, and at the time you fight on death, you are automatically then below starting strength. So you're automatically getting sustained 1, and then you are likely below half strength, so you're probably getting sustained 2. And it's another unit that we can, it's 20 wounds. We can give them a 5+ feel no pain in this attachment. You can follow up after the jump pack Death Company Marine, so it can kind of threat overload with the rest of them, and it's another unit that we can fight on death really effectively. And then we just have a bunch of Sanguinary Guard squad for our other captains to hop into. 1 scout squad, double Vanguard veterans for utility with Inferno pistols. Nice. Pretty straightforward stuff, honestly. Super duper aggro melee jump pack infantry, but I love the inclusion of triple Death Company. Obviously, this is a detachment that's like all about Death Company all the time, but the fact that we can basically just exclusively Oath of Moment whatever we're attacking, either with our utility jump packers or our Sanguinary Guard, and then just not worry about it for literally anything else in the army, it makes it go as far as possible, right? Suddenly, like, the Angel's Fang starts to look much better. Suddenly, our being able to to convert our attacks from Sanguinary Guard looks a lot nicer as well. So honestly, seems pretty sweet. I don't think I've ever seen foot Death Company Marines before, so that's cool. Astra Militarum also doing well. We're running. Wow, this is a poet over here. Kifon Zhu. He's nailing it. Playing Grizzled Company, so classic Grizzled Company stuff. Cadian Castellan Command Squad, Catachin Command Squad. The Commissar with Human Detail, so we get an attachment for our Bulgrin squads. We have a Militarum Tempestus Command Squad, Ogren Bodyguard. Tempestus Command Squad is actually nice because you get 2. I don't know if their orders are restricted. Oops, I just closed my chat. I apologize. Can they order to any regiment? Can order to and 1 order to any regiments, and then that duplicates to 2 thanks to the Grizzled Company detachment ability. So we have the ability, we have essentially a second use of Gaunt's Ghosts. I guess we're not even running Gaunt's Ghosts, though. Wild. Okay, well, fair enough, I guess. Gaunt's Ghosts are very common in this attachment because you can drop them and then issue 3 orders. Normally they're restricted to 2, but in this case, we have without the ability to up down them repeatedly, we have a unit that can drop once because they can't uppy again, and then issue 2 orders. So it's like a cheaper version. It's like a Gaunt's Ghost from Wish, I guess, which is okay, I suppose. We have Tech Priest Engines here, Ogre Bodyguard, Rogaldorn Commander, Cadian Shock Trooper Squad. Do we have a Cadian Command Squad? We do. Okay. So we can kind of like fully wombo out the Cadian Command Squad with the Castellan plus the squad to give them cover when they're benefiting from an order, which they almost always should be because that unit issues like 5 orders. Plus it can Master Vox all those out as well. And then a Catastrophe Jungle Fighter Squad that's also going to get an officer in it too. Chimeras, Torox, Bulgrin, triple Kazarkin, to embark into all the Chimeras. So we get the early push. We can scout with those units and then move them from the Rogaldorn Commander to go 13 inches, then disembark the Kazarkin and shoot people. 2 Lehman Russ Vanquishers and Anti-Pesta Scion Squad. So we actually are dropping the Scions in. Interesting that we took so many command squads. It's a couple of Vanquishers for backline shooting. We have the early game push from the Kazarkin, and then we're just like basically absorbing the entire midboard with all of these regiment units. But we are like wildly over ordered because we have like the Castellan plus the command squad, and honestly, the leadership abilities from both those units are pretty solid. The Catastrophe Jungle Fighters, they get assaults from their command squad too. I don't know if that's quite as exciting as the Cadian Command Squad, because the Cadian Command Squad makes them legitimately difficult to kill. Yeah, they get assaults. So they can advance pretty hard, I guess. But we have so many orders that it's kind of insane. We're showing like 9, 10 maybe. I think 11 total if we count like the commissar as well, plus vehicle orders too, which I think feels like overkill. I don't know. But this is like a highly aggressive list because we're gonna be able to scout 4 units up the table, right, between the caster cannon and their transports plus the Catachin command squad, and then we're backing that up with the Bullgrid squad, which you can take midboard, plus the 26 Cadian shock troopers that are going to get all of the bonuses from the Castellan. So they're difficult to kill because they get basically a 3+ save when they're gone to ground in cover. Plus they get fallback and shoot and sustained hits from the Castellan. Plus you can armor of contempt them as well. So that unit's actually like legitimately difficult to kill. And then they can obsect the whole center of the table, and then you can just sort of use that to screen out your backline, your Vanquishers, and your Rogaldorn. I don't know. Pretty neat. Seems good. I guess the other benefit here is like you could potentially use the Tibestus Scions just to drop and be a utility unit. It's just 5 guys. But then you could, if you don't want to attach in the Tibestus command squad, you could use him to use move. So oftentimes what you'll do is you'll move your army to get them up the table. Unfortunately, like most of your orders are being used in the command phase. However, you drop this guy down and then you can immediately replace move with go to ground on Kazarkin squads or on your shock troopers in the center of the battlefield. Which is really the benefit of Gaunt's Ghosts, which we're not really running today. Haven't seen Votan win a GT in a while. Part of the issue is damage output for that faction, for sure. They're just like a lot of their weapon profiles are they're either hyper inconsistent, because a lot of them are built around hitting on 3s, or they are low AP, like low strength characteristic. And so, or honestly, like all the numbers are kind of low. The strength is probably fine. But a lot of them is like base 4+ weapon skill. And you, at the higher levels of competitive play, you play like, RTT level, you play against randos. A lot of times you'll find that like, oh, I get a lot of benefit out of my army ability. But at the high levels of competitive play, people are going to really play around your army ability to the point where all your attacks become wildly inconsistent. Because if they recognize that all you have to do is like put some number of models on objectives in order to take those objectives away, they're just going to play around touching the objectives while you're in hostile acquisition, or hostile takeover, excuse me. No, hostile acquisition. I did it right the first time. Which means your whole army gets -1 to hit, essentially. Like the army's built around getting +1 to hit, targeting enemies on objectives. And then as soon as you flip into that doctrine, you're like, well, now I can get +1 to hit against like that one intercessor squad over there. So like, I'm not going to do any damage to you, right? All my attacks are just like coin flips. And then the opposite can happen where they overload OC onto objectives once you flip into Fortify Takeover, and suddenly you also don't get the +1 to hit, because if you're like charging them, let's say like Chthonian Berserks, and they have 10 OC on an objective and you have 5 Chthonian Berserks, you don't take the objective, so you don't get +1 to hit, even if both of you are on the objective. And so they just like flip the script on you, and it becomes really bad. It's just like the army rule just is like, it might just need to be that they have 3+ like weapon skill, ballistic skill, and the army roll is a bonus to get them to hit on 2s. But right now they're built around the army roll, and really good players are going to play around your army roll to the point where it doesn't do very much, and you're like, this sucks. And that's part of the issue, is that like they do fine in a lot of situations, but then as soon as somebody knows how to play against Votan, they just like fall apart really badly. We'll continue and talk about Shin Simon over here, who is rocking Biosanctic Broodsurge. So we're very aggressive so far. Astra Militarum with all this aggressive scouting action to score big points early. And then sort of like solidify the midboard with all of these massive infantry. Blood Angels with just literally nothing but units that are charging you. And obviously, Biosanctic Broodsurge over here, this is the melee, just get in their face detachment from Genestealer cults. So if you haven't seen this before, it gives you +1 to attack and +1 to charge when you charge, for that for the remainder of the turn. For aberrants, biophagus units, and pure strange Genestealers. So basically, all your Genestealer units. Awkwardly, I had this discussion with an opponent recently. Not the Patriarch. If you ever kill a Patriarch's unit, they actually lose the detachment ability, which is bizarre. And the same thing for the Abominants. It's or actually, aberrants is it aberrants just the aberrant unit? I think. I believe it might be the same way case, but the attached characters actually don't get the benefit unless they're actually attached to the unit, which feels weird, but it is what it is. Doesn't happen that often. However, you also have stimulated biosurge, which is a 1 CP strat on any of those units to give them +1/2 charge for each enemy that they declare. So if you deep strike them into the middle of your opponent's army and charge, basically declare everything, then you can get up to +3, including the Biosanctic Breed Surge ability for +4. So you're making 5-inch charges out of deep strike. So this detachment, again, it's super aggressive. All you want to do is just send waves of guys at your opponent in order to try to batter them down, essentially. So we have an Abominant with predatory instincts that gives him infiltrate, and he can heroically intervene for free. So you can put a big aberrant unit in the center of the battlefield. You can use it to protect your objectives if your opponent charges your utility stuff, or you just use it to just go punch your opponent really early. Aberrants are annoying enough to kill that usually you can just sort of like vibe on an objective as long as you're not in line of sight of your opponent's whole army. They won't die very easily, so you can secure early game score leads with those guys, or you can kill their screening stuff, which is important because you typically want to be just deep striking waves of guys later on in the game. We have double unupgraded Abominants, 1 Biophagus, 1 Kellermorph. That's interesting. I wonder what the Kellermorph is doing. Maybe he's just being a little lone operative guy. He's a cute little guy. He forces battle shock checks on enemy infantry, and he can shoot, then reactive move. So he's just like a really annoying lone operative to kill. That seems okay. That's interesting. Plus, I don't know, he clears like infantry and screening units pretty well. If you just have 5 1-wounders, there's a non-zero chance he just kills them on the gunshot. If you like got Federation Wolves or something similar that are trying to screen you out, he might just actually kill them on your own turn, which is really brutal. We have a Sanctus, Reductus Saboteur, 1 Patriarch with Biomorph adaptation. I believe that's supposed to strengthen damage. Excuse me, armor penetration characteristic and damage. So he goes to damage 3 on his big tickly claws. Plus a Sanctus. Auto Pistol Acolyte hybrid unit so that we can generate command points off the back line. The nice thing too about these guys is that if you do have additional Biophagus to jump into them, although I imagine we're taking those on Metamorphs, yeah, we are. Then the mining tools actually get a little scary with the +1 attack. They're low volume, kind of high impact against vehicles anyway. Their mining tools are anti-vehicle. And they basically double damage when they get +1 attack. But the other benefit is that while they won't benefit from the detachment ability, they are just a good backline objective holder. We have Acolyte Hybrid Hand Flamers ×2. Big Neophyte Hybrid Brick for objective secure, so we can obsec the objectives multiple times if we drop them on the midboard. We can run them into the center to do utility stuff, lose them, recur them, and continue to obsec objectives in the midboard if we've been able to push the line of scrimmage like past where the opponent can take the objectives. We have 3 units of 5 aberrants to go with all of our abominants, in addition to a big metamorph squad, 3 units of pure strange Genestealers. So the metamorph squad is where the Biophagus goes. And once you add the Biophagus into the unit, they get lethal hits, and then they also get the detachment ability. So their melee profile, they have a blood surge movement, and then they also can regenerate models back to the unit. So if you can't kill them, they have a feel no pain. They're not the hardest thing in the world to kill, but they won't die like immediately. But their baseline weapon profile, they have a 3 attack, 2 damage weapon profile. If they don't need, they have a sweep profile. It's 5 attacks. But if they don't need the extra damage, or if they need the extra damage, the addition of the Biophagus gives them lethal hits, which is good because their base strength characteristic is not super high. And then also adds just straight up 25% to their damage output by increasing their attack characteristic. In addition to making them very good at getting into melee. You can also get, there's a +1 to wound strat against monsters and vehicles of the detachment as well, which is helpful too. There's also a stratagem to when your characters die to deal mortal wounds to people, so you can play more aggressively with them. And
at Bucket of Steel Sybil donated $6 through Super Chat.
You could get value when
Hey
they die.
Turtle Boy, I'm new to Imperial Fests. When you have the time, could you go over my first foray into Emperor's Shield?
Absolutely. I fucking love Emperor's Shield, dude. Yeah, shoot me if you send the list to me on Discord, I can do a little review. I can take a peek at it. I tried a couple different Emperor's Shield builds. I ended up with like basically just one. I built one at the very beginning when the detachment came out, and then I was like, oh, maybe I bet there's better ways to build this list. And then I ended up just like going back to the original list. I was like, nah, never mind. These are not as good. There's like flashy ways to make it, and then there's, in my opinion, one correct way to make it, which does make it a little bit less exciting. But it's pretty cool. I don't know. Pretty cool. Pretty cool detachment. I love Emperor's Shield. I think it was a Terminator detachment done correctly for sure. But before we do that, closing out on this list, we've got the 3 Pure Strain Genestealer squads. Those guys will all infiltrate, so we have the ability to clear enemy screening units as well, plus Adelan Jackals, so 2 additional units of scouts, plus 2 Achilles Ridge Runners, these guys with mortars and spotters, so they get +1 ballistic skill. So they're still going to be able to hit on 4s, even if they're firing a weapon skill 4 indirect fire weapon at -1. So we can gum up the midboard with all of the scouts and the infiltrators. We can hopefully push back the opponent's infiltrators between these guys and the lone operative infiltrators that we have. Then we can fill in that space with jackals. The jackals can bomb people, skirmish with them, get some secondaries done, and then also do some mortal wounds. And then the Pure Strain Genestealers can finish off that stuff. If you can strip out your opponent's utility units that are screening, you then start to get either rapid ingress and charge or just straight up deep strike and charge, because you're at a baseline, your units that are benefiting from the detachment ability are getting a 8-inch charge out of deep strike. If you use the stratagem, the +1 to charge stratagem, what do we call it? Stimulated Biosurge, you get at least +1 to the charge roll, up to, as we said, potentially up to additional +3. So you are making, at worst, a 7-inch charge out of deep strike with no help. So if you have enough command points, right? If we banked enough command points, and part of the reason we have the auto pistol hybrids is to farm command points from the back line, we could ingress a unit, set it up to move and charge, right? And our charges, even moving on the ground, are relatively consistent as long as our opponent's not super far away, because we're going to be able to get that +1 to charge to connect more easily. But then we can also get about a 75 or 80% chance to charge out of deep strike if we stimulated Biosurge and hold a CP to reroll it. So we can be getting 2 of these melee bricks into our opponent every single battle round, potentially, if we're getting all 3 command points every round very consistently. And then when they die, we're going to be able to recur a lot of that stuff too and do it again. So it's just like this endless onslaught of idiots just like running at you and trying to kill you. And the damage output from things like Pure Strain Genestealers with +1 attack actually goes pretty hard. The Pure Strain Genestealers actually hit pretty effectively, especially when you're like adding attacks to things like the twin-linked devastating wound 3 damage swings on the Patriarch, for example, or you're adding attacks to the Abominant's like las cannon big stop sign he hits you with. So yeah, I don't know. This is one of my favorite GSC detachments to talk about. I love, between this and like Final Day, I think GSC Call has a lot of really cool territory to play. I do feel like, to some extent, I think their weapon profiles maybe are a little bit feeling a little bit sad. A lot of times you're hitting your opponent with like strength 6, like strength 5, strength 6, like mid AP stuff, which is not the most exciting thing in the world. But you do have the +1s. You have mortal wound strats. You have +1 to wound strats. I don't know. There's stuff you can do. The 6-inch piling consolidate, so you can do weird piling consolidate play. You can get like combat slingshots really easily with this detachment, because you can get bonuses to charge, wrap your charge target, slingshot your character in a weird way, and then 6-inch consolidate it to hit another unit. The Patriarch's actually really good at that. As soon as you as long as you've gotten a unit into the charge target first, you can then very easily use the Prestream Genestealer unit to sling around the Patriarch into a second unit. Kill the first one with the Genestealers, get the Patriarch into the second one, and 2-for-1 yourself with those guys. And then if your opponent charges in and kills the Patriarch, you have a bonus to do mortal wounds. So there's actually a you do 2d3 mortal wounds on a 2-up, which is sick. In response to that. Yeah, so anyway, interesting. I guess one more list out of this army is Yi Shang Shen, who's running Lions of the Emperor with Knights and Shuras. Cool. Do we have Sisters of Science? We do have Vigilators. Vigilators are, in my opinion, I think dramatically underplayed, which it seems like, and I think they just got a points cost reduction. Like, it's a 9 model unit for 90 points. They're 10 models each. They have a 2 damage melee attack with devastating wounds and -1 to be hit in melee. So they're actually really annoying to kill. They're like basically free. This unit's 150 points and attacks 20 times with devastating wound melee weapons. It is just like, I don't know, 3+ arbor save idiots just running around. With the I don't remember what the Knights and Shura gives them. I think it's like +2 movement. Is that right? The Knights and Shura gives them +2 movement and +2 to advance and charge rolls. So the Knights and Shura actually makes them dramatically faster. It's 145 points for this unit. And the Centura has an additional 3 devastating wound melee attacks, not to mention the fact that these models benefit from the Lions of the Emperor detachment ability. So, because it doesn't exclude Anathema Psychana from getting that. So you can be swinging 20, or I guess in this case, 21 melee attacks, 2 damage devastating, hitting on 2s, wounding basically everything on 4s or 5s. They wound infantry on 2s at that point. For 145 points, it's crazy. We do have a Rhino to deliver them. So that whole brick costs almost as much as like a Warden unit. And you get 10 models plus a vehicle that actually like threaten really far in the midboard. The you're moving 8 inches out after a disembark with +2 to charge. So you're essentially going 13 plus 2d6 out of a Rhino, which means that their threat range is like way faster than any of these Custodian Guard squads, and they cost as much as 4 Custodian Guards. For like, obviously their attacks are worse, but they have the same attack volume and they have devastating wounds. So, plus, like, you're putting 10 OC onto an objective with that threat range. So, and not to mention the fact that, like, once you're pushing that far forward, you're almost certainly benefiting from the Lines of the Emperor detachment ability. So it's very difficult not to get your +1 to wound. Honestly, every time I've seen Vigilators on the table, they've like wildly impressed me, which is cool because on the face of it, they don't look very good. Like, we're talking about this like 9-point, 10-point model that's like 2 attacks. What the heck is that? But once you start stacking all the abilities, like, hey man, we're actually gonna stage in the midboard with a transport. We're gonna get huge charge bonuses. We're gonna get devastating wounds. We're gonna get +1 2 wound. You're like, oh, I see. So we're very consistently gonna just go in and kill an objective holding unit, right? And then vibe for a turn, like force our opponent to deal with us, and allow the rest of the Custodian Guard to actually stage up behind that. So they can act as a trading piece that you don't get anywhere else in this faction, essentially. We also have a Leia, actually. There's I don't know if Leia gives. She gives fight first and grim determination. Oh, and scout. Oh, okay. So usually what we do is you actually start a Leia in the transport and leave the Vigilators out. A Leia scouts the transport and then disembarks and goes and does something. Then you run the Vigilators in and then move the transport. Alea's like a nice little additional movement for the rest of the unit. I don't think we're running more than one unit. Yeah, just the one unit of Custodians. So, or excuse me, of Anathema Psychana. So I don't think she's joining the unit. I think we're definitely gonna put the Knights Centurion there for the extra movement. But she does let you move the transport beforehand, and then she also acts as basically another like prosecutor squad, essentially. Like she can go do an action or something, which is kind of sweet. Why are Custodes sisters cheaper than Sororitas sisters? Great question. Because they don't have miracle dice and invulnerable saves. That's the answer. Because they aren't packing multi-beltas. They have to do all their damage by hitting you with a sword. That's the entire answer right there. Turns out guns better than swords in 40k, chat. Their sword units tend to be a little cheaper. All right. We've got an Amata Mortis captain, one blade champion. Playing Kyria Draxus this list? No. The rare non-Kyria Draxus list, chat? Oh, you'll love to see it. It is instead triple Alaris Custodians, triple Custodian Guard. Alaris Custodians just got a points cost decrease, right? They just got a bump. That's so many Terminators. Holy shit. So we can put the Blade Champion probably in this Vexilis unit. Because we're probably not that worried about their shooting. So we have a Presidium Shield guy who doesn't have a gun. But that's fine because we're just gonna run him in with the Blade Champion, get a bunch of damage in, try to hit somebody whose objective we can steal. Right. The huge benefit of the Vexilla is you go to OC3, so you can put 15 OC on an objective at the end of the charge phase to steal their objective, and then get your reroll wounds on the objective you're taking from your opponent. The other Custodian guards are going to hold your objectives and then Sentinel Storm to double tap and like clear utility units and stuff. So you want the Vexilla on the more aggressive Custodian guard squads, whereas you want the guns on the more defensive Custodian guard squads. But then we also have these Vigilators, Prosecutors, Alea. We can clear out the screening units with those, and then we can rapid ingress a million Alaris Custodians with a captain in there as well, to just ruin people's lives. You know, as soon as units have like very different, like wildly divergent weapon profiles, you know that the person knows what they're doing because they have very specific uses in mind for each of these units. They don't just be like, oh, I think I just take the spear on everyone, right? Because that's better. Well, sometimes you do. And sometimes you take Misericordias because we want the extra OC for whatever reason, right? To like rapid ingress next to an objective and then take it. Or to, have a dude like split off with Unleash the Lions and then like run onto an objective with additional OC. And then we have another unit that can hop in and actually just like kill people's utility units by shooting them. One Caladius Grav Tank for long range shooting, one Prosecutor Squad, plus the Vigilators we talked about. This list rules. I love this list. Big Vigilator Squad plus a Leia plus a Knights and Shura. You never get to see that stuff. That's sick. There are 2 units of Vigilators? No. You're wrong. There's one. Unless I'm insane. Oh, shit. No, you're right, chat. You're totally right. They're just stuck together. No, you're totally correct. I read that as a single unit, but it is straight up just 2 units. No, you're totally right. That's my bad. Because they didn't get spaced out. I didn't read them. So Alea does have a unit of separate Vigilators that she can hop into. So she's going to scout her unit, because I believe she just gives the entire unit scout, right? Does she? Or does she just lose it because she's an idiot? Oh, no, she doesn't give scout. Oh, just kidding. So all that stuff I said about scouting the transport probably doesn't work. Unless we're not attaching Alea, which feels weird. I don't know. She gives you fight first. And then Grim Determination, maybe, I don't know. Maybe you do. I mean, fight first is good, I guess. You get like a good heroic intervention threat because you get a bunch of fight first devastating wounds. If your opponent charges you, you can heroically intervene, and she has more attacks than the rest of the unit. Oh, she's 3 damage too. Okay. All right. That seems okay. It's weird that she has fight first, but then also gives you it also gives you Grim Determination. So You oftentimes will attack before your opponent deals any casualties to you. That's a weird idiosyncrasy. But her actual weapon profile is like significantly better than the rest of the Vigilators. So you probably just wanted to get her in there and stab people. No, you're totally right. There's 2 units of Vigilators. That's a good call out. Scout only works on Wish Seekers, yeah. Well, there you go, chance. BCP formatting, ruining my life again. Every time. Every time feels. I don't know why it is, but like it's always Custodes that have the worst time with formatting. It's for whatever reason the export for like these units is disgusting. Because it gives you like the total number, and then because they sometimes will have overlapping weapons, it looks like, right? It's a 6 Alaris Custodians with ballistic grenade launchers. And then it looks like this is 7 models, right? But it's or like because you add these together to attach into another model, or onto the single Vexillus model. And I always misread these as having to add more models. I'm like, all right, 3 Alaris Custodians, 2 Guardian Spears, 1 Miniature Courtier, 1 Vexilla. So it's 7 models, right? No, it's 3 models. 2 of them have this, and 1 of them has both of these. And that gets me every time. I remember when I used to type out all of the, or I still type on my lap, but now I'm a little bit better at catching it. But I stopped typing out best armies in 40k lists for a while because I would literally always read Custodes as having more models in their unit than they actually did. It would kill me every time. I was terrible at it. Good call out, chat. Double Vigilators. That's sick. Vigilators rule. Let's go, Vigilators. Also, 155 points for Leia's unit. And she's 4 attacks, strike 6, AP 3, 3 damage, devastating. That's wild. For 65 points, eat your heart out, combi weapon, Lieutenant. You wish you had that output. All right. Bucket has sent me a list. Let's take a peek. We're going to put this in a notepad and look at it before we move on to our next team event. Make sure that this actually shows up on the screen. Here we go. All right. So it's Emperor's Shield. We have a Terminator Ancient with Maladronaxian Standard. So that's a -1 to wound if the strength is higher than 5. Unfortunately, this is the weirdest part, but Lysander has the good like Blades of Ultramar transhuman effect, where it's -1 to wound if your strength is equal to or higher than toughness characteristic. So 5 or higher. The Maladronaxian Standard, awkwardly, is only higher than. So you have 2 almost but not quite identical leadership effects in the same detachment, which actually sends me. Just make both of them do one of those things, and then you don't have to constantly explain to your opponent why one unit is -1 to wound for heavy bolters and why the other unit is not. That kills me. So we're taking Combi Weapon Lieutenant, Darnath Lysander, Terminator Captive Champion of the Feast. So it's +1 attack on him, and then once per game, +1 attack on everyone else in the unit as well. We have an Intercessor Squad for the backline, double Ballista Dreadnought, Scout Squad. Terminator Assault, regular Terminator. Vanguard Veterans. So I imagine, I guess it's probably Lysander plus the dual attachment in the second Terminator Assault unit. The thing I'd be worried about here is if you're all in on Assault Terminators, your opponent can screen you pretty well. Now, I will say that with the +1 to wound that Assault Terminators got, so you can get them to hitting on 2s pretty consistently. I do think Assault Terminators in the latest data slate are actually kind of sweet. The downside is I'm worried that you don't have the trading capacity if your opponent just like hands you a bunch of like idiot 1 wound T3 guys that your Assault Terminators have to go fight. I do like the standard Terminator squad because the +1 to wound strat works really well on them. The +1 AP strat works really well on them. So you can like drop them early and then +1 AP ignore cover and like try to blitz a unit down. So that's not too bad. And then double Terminator squads after that. That's probably fine. The version that I had took only one Terminator assault squad and then rocked Lysander in the standard Terminator squad. And what you would oftentimes do is you would send this unit early and you would try to either clip something important or kill something that like your opponent was or kill like 2 units, right? You could oath 1 unit, get full hit and win rerolls against it, and then blitz it down, and then kill a second unit, and unopen the door. When they come back in to hit the second Terminator squad, you rapid ingress the assault Terminators behind, and then you go fight them. And then the assault Terminators would end up closing out the game. This is very similar, but we're just doing it with double assault Terminators. The thing I'm worried about is just the capacity for your opponent to just like hold you down. Because the only thing that's able to range out and fight them are the Vanguard veterans. That said, you might be able to just like push through them with multiple Terminator squads. As long as with multiple assault Terminator squads, as long as the regular Terminators get value early game. Because they're like hitting like T4 infantry on 2s rerolling if you oath them. Winning on 3s rerolling 1s without any attachments. With AP 1 ignore cover stormbolters and AP 3 cyclone missiles. So you're probably good to kill 5 Space Marines with these guys, right? If you have oath moment on them. And then you make your opponent deal with them, which is like kind of obnoxious a lot of times. It's very dear trade though. I took a gladiator to do that, but these guys deep strike at least. So I think I think that this is fine. Oh, the other thing I had was that I actually really loved was a solo captain with the respawn enhancement, and then he could up down for free every turn if you weren't in melee. But obviously you need to open the points for that. Like I said before, I think there's a couple different ways to build this detachment. I think like the Terminator brick style is definitely the correct way. I played a Blade Guard veteran version that I recommended for people just getting into the faction because you didn't need to buy 20 Terminators to play it, which I think is much more reasonable than buying 25 Terminators as a brand new 40k player unit that's very very difficult to use. What I would recommend if you wanted to switch it up is to cut the second assault squad and build this into a 10-man. Then you get another 150 points or so to bring more trading units, to bring more utility. And you basically just use the first Terminator squad as a Lysander delivery system. Generally speaking, you're able to drop them in and kill something. Like if you're able to early game clear out some units with the Vanguard veterans and whatever else you bring for your utility, so that you can like round 2, round 3, you can drop in the Terminators and shoot something important to death. Then you make your opponent fully activated into the Terminators. They almost in none of my test games, I think, was anybody able to kill Lysander's unit without dealing with Lysander first. So you get Lysander to go do stuff later. And if they don't kill them, then the game's just over because you activated it up with the full reroll unit again. Then the Terminator Assault Squad would just close the game basically from there. And that was how basically every single one of my test games went. That's what I would recommend. That gives you another 100 and... What is it? Like 100 and... These guys are 340 for 20, right? Or for 10? So it gives you another... You get 20 points, was 170. You get 190 points to spend. So you could take a third veteran unit plus like a captain. You could take a solo captain for up down, or you could take I think 2 squads might be a lot too. I don't know if you need 2 double scout squads. I kind of like the 1 scout squad to fight people's okay, but without advance and charge, they don't really get anywhere. You can cut that maybe and take like a gun tank. Vindicators are good in this attachment. I like Gladiator Reapers as well, because like early game you could just clear infantry with them really easily. so that your Terminators don't have to do it. But you never want the Terminators hitting like 1 wounders, basically. Would be the other consideration. Infernus pistol and the Vanguard veterans are better with +1 AP ignore cover. That's interesting. I don't know if I had really considered that. But like, so this detachment tends to be really struggling on command points. And the benefit of Vanguard veterans, besides the fact that they have veteran keyword for your like OBSEC and stuff, is that they usually don't die in 1 activation because they have the 4+ invuln. So like you're almost always using the stratagem on this unit turn 2 when they hop in, and then you basically have to put so many CP into Fury of the First, Fight on Death, or AOC. I very rarely had games where I had a lot of command points to spend on like the 5 dudes shooting. So I don't know if I would build for that, to be honest. It does make them do a little bit more damage, but you're oftentimes like shooting the thing you're about to charge. So I don't know if I'm like super into that. I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo. No lightning claws? No. So lightning claws, the basically the reason you're playing assault terminators is to take the Thunderhammer Storm Shield build so that you can get to 4 wounds. If you watched this stream this morning, we talked about it quite at length about like how insane the characteristic difference between 3 and 4 wounds on heavy infantry is, because the game's like basically balanced around 3 damage blast being like dedicated infantry sweeping profiles, and very little in the game is like high volume 4 damage. So very little kills a 4 wound profile, especially once you add like instances of -1 to wound and AOC and all this bullshit on top of it. Like very little kills that very efficiently. Like it's like ion accelerators, and then like sometimes there's an enhancement, you know, like on a melee profile or something. So the basically the reason to take Terminator assault squads is to run the Storm Shield guys. And especially now that the Thunderhammers are up as Gil 3, like, ooh boy, are they high value now? Like they don't nerf their own damage quite as hard as they used to in order to take that 4th wound. But the 4th wound stacked on with -1 to wound is like crazy. They actually just live forever. It's like wild. You watch our armies activate into them, and like 6 Terminators will die, and then you're like, I'm still at half. I don't even have to battle shock, and then you like OBSEC the objective you're on, and then charge the rest of their army. It goes crazy. Those units are so good. Did I see the Tau Monka list that went 4-1 with a Gash Hammer with Storm Church plus trips? I didn't. That's funny though. That's cool. So yeah, I think I like this build. I think the one thing I would do if you're open to it, I do like this Terminator squad, but I basically have sworn by the 10-man Terminators, because the output is crazy good. So that would be the one change I would make, and then that gives you more trading pieces that you can use to like clear out screens early to make sure the Terminators get in. 25 Terminators feels like too many, but I'm never going to say that like in this particular detachment, the Lysander Terminator squad plus the second Terminator squad is bad, because like honestly they're both incredible. The other build, by the way, champ, I think I talked about it in my how to play Imperial Fist video, but the other thing that you could play is Blade Guard veterans, with Maladrexian on a Blade Guard Ancient. That unit isn't as good as the Terminators because they're much easier to kill, but holy shit, does it hit hard. You can stack Champion of the Feast on the once per game from the Blade Guard Ancient, and you can fight on death that unit. And so I played a game. I played a game on stream actually where they got charged by Lamarty's Death Company, the -1 damage Death Company. They got hit by that. They fought on death, and they killed the entire Death Company squad. And I was like, wait a minute, what? This is crazy. That was wild. That was an insane game. At -1 damage, they were literally half damage, and they killed the entire unit. It was fucking nuts. That unit hits like a truck. But obviously not as resilient as the Terminators. So it's less of a I don't know. It's less interesting. 10 assault Terminators can't kill 5 Deathwing Knights. Oh yeah. The thing you have to accept playing this detachment is that the Space Marine mirror is pure fucking pain. It sucks so bad because Space Marines are all like, "Hey, idiot, I'm like slightly above average defensive profiles with AOC and -1 damage like coming out my anus." Right? If I was like, you play Redemptors, you play fucking, Deathwing Knights, all that shit. Even like you play Hammer of Averni with like -1 damage to the charge or whatever. And it just sucks. It sucks really bad. You just commit to lose the mirror match. You're like, every time I determine to exterminate or I activate with a Terminator Assault Squad, that's not Lysanders, which will devastate you a billion times. You're just gonna AOC. We're just gonna say that to begin with. You're just gonna constantly put down Arbor of Contempt. And there's nothing I can do about it. So like, I don't know. It just sucks. It sucks. It is bad. The Space Marine mirror match with this list is pure pain. And it sucks because I think this detachment's really good in any other context besides a Marine dominated metagame. And as soon as I was so excited about this detachment, and then as soon as Victrix Hunter Guard got released, I was like, never mind. It's all ogre. Because they're just gonna AOC you and you're just gonna be sad. I like maybe a Terminator Assault Squad could like fight the Victrix Hunter Guard, but I don't know. I think they beat you over a long enough time frame. But the other thing is like everyone's playing them, and they're just gonna have 2+ save AOC at the wazoo, and all your AP2 and AP1 ignore cover stuff isn't gonna do anything. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And then they out threat you, and they hit harder. They have lance, all this stuff. It is what it is. Plus, a lot of times they're like strength 5 +1 to wound, and you're like, but my -1 to wound only works if your strength is higher than my toughness, and your strength is the same. So you wouldn't be on 3s, and they're like, yeah, like, guess I'll go fuck myself. Or their strength 6 +2 to wound. They get around your -1 anyway. And they're like, I'll wound you on 3s regardless. Fuck you. This is stupid. Why am I here? Yeah, the Ultramarine release like absolutely sapped my enthusiasm for Emperor's Shield, which sucks because I had a great time playing it. It's a super fun attachment, but the mirror match is just miserable. It just sucks so hard, man. But yeah, I don't know. I think the list at the baseline looks pretty good, and there's one change I could potentially recommend. Just to give you more utility to play with. I think more utility generally more better. But yeah. The other thing too is like I think a lot of times you can play it with like more punchier backline shooting because you are because your front line's so so dense that a lot of times people you're just like, here's 2 Vindicators, like the go turn, right? We've dropped our Terminators in, we ingress our backline Terminators. Sometimes you don't get to out threat people with Vindicators in that detachment because you can't advance and shoot. But a lot of times your opponent has to activate everything into your Terminators to kill them, which means that the rest of your army can just push on the turn where your Terminators go in, because your opponent has to kill every Terminator squad that deep strikes next to them. Otherwise, they just die. If you let Landsanders unit drop and kill something and then activate into an Oath of Moment target a second time, the game's over. You've lost. It's all over, man. You have to kill that unit immediately. So the rest of your army just gets to like play around the sprinkler for a while. That was the other thing I noticed, which is why I say I think Vindicators are good in that detachment, even though there's very little explicit synergy. Besides maybe you could consider the detachment ability being kind of synergistic where you get reroll 1s to wound on the Oath target, and if you wound on 2s with Vindicators, then you're full of rerolls, which is nice, but I don't know. Anyway, chance. So I think Chaos Knights have good tools for this Terminator meta. Yeah, I mean, ignore cover the Avenger Gatling cannons. Turns out it's really good against 4 wound Terminators. Hey, buddy, I wound on 3s. Put you on your invuln and And two conversions kills you. So enjoy. Have a good time. Burp. Burp. All right. Let's talk about the aptly named Warhammer 40,000 Team Championship. It's the same deal basically. So we saw the Chinese one. This one is it happens at Warhammer World, I think. Yeah. And it's the same format. It's just 4-player teams. We had 2 undefeated teams. One of them was X0-1. The other one, they must have done differential scoring here, right? That's got to be what the scores here mean. The other one went 5-0, and we can talk about both of them. First one, emphasis on the D6, has some spicy lists. First of all, we got it's a really strong team. Johnny Simmons, Josh Roberts, and Nathan Roberts. Josh Roberts, obviously. I mean, surprise, surprise, he's doing well. It's Ultramarine Gladius Task Force. Boring. Oh, it's cool. It's Robot. It's Robot Gladius, though. We just watched Robot Blades of Ultramar anyway, with Redemptor Dreadnoughts, Ballistus Dreadnoughts, a bunch of Scouts, a bunch of Victor China Guard, whatever. Cool, man. This was pre-nerf. Okay. This was a couple weeks ago, by the way. This was 2 weeks ago, I think. So I guess they rules locked this one before the data slate went in. So I don't know, whatever. We're not going to talk about Ultramarines very much. I do, however, want to talk about the Chaos Space Marine list. I just closed out my thing. Here we go. The Chaos Space Marine list that was a part of the undefeated team. Chaos Demons, doing well over here as well. Scintillating Legion. This is, I think, pre-buff. Yeah, because I think Kairos is cheaper. So they definitely used old points values. But it's still Scintillating Legion, which is, turns out, it's just gotten better. So, I don't know. I think Scintillating Legion definitely has an interesting place in team formats because it's first of all, it's a 4+ invuln save skew. So sometimes your army's just like, all my anti-tank is Gladiator Lancers. I probably die. Plus, it's incredibly good at scoring. This list is bringing Plague Bearers and then 1 million Flamer units. So we can pull 2 of them out of melee every turn and then redeploy them. So we can constantly be sending stuff into our opponent's backline. And you have indirect fire to do things like kill your opponent's screens. You know, you have Infernal Puppeteer. You have Kairos Fate Weaver that you can clear out your opponent's screening ability. And then even if they're engaging you, you can still pull out of engagement to fight. In this case, we're running the melee build where we have Be'lakor to protect the Lords of Change turn 1. Makes your deployment way easier, by the way, too, especially if you're playing on CA 2025 layouts, which I mean, this was Warhammer World, so I imagine they did. The nice thing about Be'lakor is that he just makes it so that regardless of the layout you play on, he's like, you're probably okay. There are a couple, like you play Dawn of War into some of the bad ones and your opponent can just reach your whole army on turn 1. But on any of the deep deployment zones, you know, even the search and destroy deployments where you're cornered and the rush distance is really close, Be'lakor can usually back deploy far enough that nobody can hit the Lords of Change. So you're just like, the nice thing is that he makes it so that the terrain you play on almost literally doesn't matter. We have ways to get around line of sight between either actual indirect fire or pretend indirect fire from Infernal Puppeteer. And then we have ways to protect ourselves from turn 1 shooting without needing terrain to do so. And then the turn where you engage, everyone engages and everyone's a 4+ invuln save and high toughness characteristic. But then we also have the Neverblade Demon Prince. The cool thing here is that if we have the command points to spend, you can use the +2 strength or +3 strength stratagem, whichever it's called. Fire, do better firing good stuff. Do lots of fire onto Pyrogenesis. I knew it was fire something. Pyrogenesis for +3 strength. So that guy can go to strength. I think Neverblade brings him to 10. He goes to strength 13. AP 4 with 10 attacks with sustained hits. So he hits like a fucking truck. He hits so hard. Once per game when he uses his finest hour ability. So you Be'lakor, he's good at stabbing big stuff. You have this guy, he's good at stabbing big stuff. The Lords of Change are good at shooting anything. Who cares? And then you have a bunch of really, really consistent scoring in the back line. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty good for team formats for sure. But there's also like Chaos Knights. I don't know. This is a triple Abominant. What a fucking Chad, dude. I was about to write this off and be like, oh, it's despoilers. It is one despoiler, but if this man's running triple Abominant, absolutely based. Abominants, I think they're my favorite knight. If the Serassus Knight Castigator looked a little cooler, I would like it, because I think its gun is neat. But the Abominant shoots 1,000,000 times with devastating wounds, which is one of my favorite things to do. You just roll 36 3 damage at AP 0 devastating every turn, and you just hope that an average number of them come up 6s. Because if an average number of 36 gunshots come up 6s, are we playing Infernal Lance? Yeah, we are. So they have sustained hits. So we basically should hit like 30 of them. And then of those, you should get 5 devastating wounds. That's 15 mortals. And then you probably do like 6 damage on Spire if they're just saving normally. But just these guys doing their pulse mortals every turn, plus 15 mortals from shooting in total, you're over like 2 turns, your opponent's entire front line just vaporizes. They're just like, I pick a thing, it dies to mortal wounds. If I don't lose any Abominants, I pick another thing, it dies to mortal wounds. They don't need ignore cover, so you're whatever the name of the stratagem is, Demon Eye or whatever. You don't have to spend on them, and they can just constantly be shooting at them. Plus, they didn't get the or Warp Vision, excuse me, is the name of the strat. They didn't get the points debuff that Despoilers did. So you're actually, this is pre-nerf, right? But you're still playing with like a similar number of models. You don't actually have to sacrifice that much. I wonder if, I mean, real talk, this guy, he probably knew that nerf was coming. He probably had an idea, and he's like, I'm switching to Abominants. We're going to take the one Despoiler that's going to get ignore cover and actually fuck somebody's day up. And then we're going to take 3 Abominants to sustain hits. They're just going to not care about cover. They're just going to devastating wound you to death. I love it. 3 Carnivores for early game disruption. Beast and Nurgle Nurglings for utility. Fucking sick list, dude. We love to see it. That's cool. That's cool. Plus, they could force the battle shocks. Yeah. Pretty sweet. Remember the TO, some TOs are ruling Infernal Puppeteer can't be used if you are not eligible to shoot non-indirectly. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I imagine. There's a rumor that we're getting like a minor update early January, so in like a week or two. I imagine that either Scintillating Legion gets hit, or we get an Infernal Puppeteer clarification in that. So I imagine we'll go a week or two with this like weird thing hanging over our head with Infernal Puppeteer, and then we'll get it clarified. I heard a scuttlebutt that there are also going to be changes happening to Victrix Honor Guard. We'll see. Apparently Josh Roberts is playing 3 units of them, which is a good indication they're probably going to get nerfed. So we'll see how it goes. That's a fucking sick Chaos Knights list, though. But the other thing too is that like the Lords of Change will oftentimes be able to find things within 18 inches of them that they can draw line of sight to. It just means that they can't be like totally immune to counter battery. But you're like, oh, I can see a scout. I'll declare that I'm going to shoot and then use Infernal Puppeteer to shoot somewhere else. So like, because you're probably going to be screening out demons anyway, I would imagine most of the time. WTC just ruled it. They ruled that you can't use it. I know NTL just ruled that you can. I'm actually see if I can find a post about it real quick. Fucking the Google AI, I just Googled it. The Google AI is so fucking useless for 40K stuff. It's just like here's a bunch of things you might be referring to with like all of these abbreviations and enhancement names and shit. It's so stupid, dude. Funny interaction. You could use puppeteer to get plunging fire. Oh, because you measure distance from the model. I'm 6 inches above the table edge, bro. That's hilarious. I guess WTC actually does use plunging fire, which is kind of based, honestly. I think plunging fire is stupid, but you know, if you're gonna use multi-level terrain, you might as well put plunging fire in there. Fuck it, let's go. Google AI is great for 40k. My favorite is when people go into like the rules comment threads and they're like, "Well, I asked ChatGPT what the answer to this rules question was, and it said this," and you're like, there's no way that's right. There's no way ChatGPT knows 40k rules because 40k rules are like just they're like squeezed into a million either hardcover rule books or PDFs, which I'm dubious that it's parsing, and then also half of the things it's going to read are from previous editions. So there's zero chance it has any idea what's going on. Just ask ChatGPT to build you a Space Marine army list. Like, it's going to give you one from 9th edition. It's amazing. I think we did it on stream at one point, and it was just like incomprehensible. Fucking so good, dude. RTO's ruling that you can use in Puppeteer if you use damage D3 shooting. I don't know what that means. GW to train an AI agent. I mean, that might be cool. If they train a large language model on 40k rules, it'll go insane. That will be the AI that finally ends the world and decides that humans don't deserve to live anymore. But at least we'd have a TO that knows what's going on, I guess, for a hot minute. Could you imagine? That'd be insane. What if they were like, all right, we made an AI agent. We made a AI instance that will answer 40k rules questions. And if you ask it a rules question at a tournament, you can consider it the judge. And then you just convince it to rule in your favor because like LLMs just like constantly like, you know, kowtow to whatever you tell them. Be amazing. You're like, no. This is how line of sight works. Oh, you know what? You're right. That was incorrect. Like thinking for a moment. You're right. Amazing. That would be incredible. That's an interesting use of AI that I never considered is having it be a rules reference that you could use at tournaments. That actually, I don't know. That'd probably not work, but maybe it would be cool. Well, Nathan Roberts, thank you for sharing with us your Chaos Knights list because that's sick. I love Knight Abominants. I want to play this list. I want to level chat. You can get like 5 bigs in this thing if you cut some stuff. Oof. Ooh. Ooh. I don't know. Without having to rely on despoilers, amazing. All right. The last one. What's going in your own objective? Why would I do that? What is going on my home? Literally nothing. Fuck you. No, there's an intercessor squad. That list. All right. The last one for this particular team is absolutely incredible, chat. You're unprepared. You might be prepared if you read the thumbnail. What the fuck is this? I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. I feel like my viewer's a little zoomed out. We'll move it over. Here you go. Scott Peary. So we had two, played Scintillating Legion. Okay, whatever. We're playing Triple Victrix Honor Guard. Okay, cool, man. But we had one dude running Abominant spam, and the other one's playing DECEPTORS? Bro, why is this team... Inside each 40k team, there are 2 wolves. One of them plays 18 Victrix Honor Guard. The other one registers DECEPTORS, bro. Incredible. So this is like the Alpha Legion detachment. So you get legionnaires and cultist mobs with and attached characters get infiltrate at the beginning of the game. Strike Force games, you get up to 3 units and 3 legionaries that get infiltrate. You also have stratagems like you can automatically force enemies to deadly demise. you can you get a reactive move, which is sweet. Auto 6 reactive move. That's great. You can get +1 to charge rolls if you for each other unit that charged. So you can drop a unit in and then charge with a bunch of units that have easy charges, then use that on the final charge charging unit that you came out of Deep Strike with and get a huge bonus on your charge, up to +3. Kind of very similar to Biosanctic Breed Surge. We also have a fallback and shoot. We have a Omni Scrambler effect, so you can make it so enemies can't set up within 12 inches of you. Great right now, by the way. That's an incredibly strong stratagem currently. And then you have a stratagem to mess with people who are below starting strength, which is whatever, who cares. We've got a Chaos Lord with Cursed Fang. That's +1 AP, and you have precision, but it's only 10 points, so that's a points filler for the most part. But honestly, like AP, like 4 Demon Hammer on the Chaos Lord's go turn is kind of sick. We have Huron Blackheart, who I think gives you redeployments, right? Yes. So he gives you +1 OC, so you can have OC3 and a natural reactive move. So you can have OC3 Legionnaires, and then you can redeploy up to 3 infantry units after deployment. So your whole army can infiltrate, and then you can redeploy them. Or like all your infantry, essentially. All your cultists and your legionary units. That's crazy. And then we have a Master of Executions with Soul Link, which is the cheapest enhancement in the game, 5 points. It allows you to select another infantry character from your army, and then you replace the bearer with the bearer's datasheet abilities with the datasheet abilities of the character you selected. Also, you become a psyker, apparently, for some reason. So you can like run in a Master of Executions as like a devastating wound attack, right? And then give him like the Chaos Lords like once per game. Or you can like give him the Terminator Sorcerer's +1 AP ability. So you can essentially like you could use it to like forward deploy your Sorcerer's ability essentially. Which is kind of sick. It does replace all your abilities, so the Master of Executions loses his, I think his fight. No. I don't think the Chaos Space Marine one does. The Chaos Space Marine one gives you I don't know. If I go to the Master of Executions datasheet, it brings up a million identical Master of Executions datasheets from all of the other detachments. Actually, I have no idea. Oh, you lose rerolls if you target something below half strength, but you have that as a stratagem, so it's kind of whatever. And then he can give you CP, but you can alternatively you could just use him to fucking nuke people with AP bonuses, or you can use him to like Hulk out like the Chaos Lord does. It's actually sick. Pretty weird one, but I like it. I lost my place. Sorry, chat. Where I was reading. We've got a bunch of cultist mobs to give them infiltrate. 1, 2, 3, 4 4 cultist mobs. So we can start by infiltrating a 20-man across the entire midboard, right? Just if you win the roll to deploy first, just 20 cultists right in the middle. Then you can infiltrate 2 more cultist units onto midboard objectives and 1 on your home your home point, right? Then we just infiltrate mass legionnaire units behind terrain in the middle. And then, because we have Huron Blackheart, any of those that your opponent deployed to sea, you just redeploy them out of line of sight. So you take the huge cultist mob, you're just like, no, I'm out of here. See ya. If you don't have scouts or you don't have like early game movement, you just leave. I'll see you. Goodbye. I'll go into reserve or whatever, with thanks to Huron. And then you could just have a bunch of legionaries like punching you in the middle. We have a Terminator squad. I guess that's a good spot. Yeah, you could put the sorcerer in it, I guess. The sorcerer does anything for them besides just the death hex. I don't think he does any. Oh, I guess they give him rerolls probably, and his gun's actually kind of okay. He gives them reroll advance and charge rolls, and then Yeah, he shoots a D6 blast or a D6 shot devastating smite. Probably pretty good with rerolls, so I guess that's probably where he's going. And then we can double use the Death Hex, because we could soul link the Death Hex over from the Sorcerer onto the Master of Execution. So we get access to two of them. Is this the list that everyone was hyped about at Codex release? There was a lot of discussion about it. I don't know if people are hyped, but it was interesting. We have 3 Chaos Vindicators to shoot people. I think we can fall back and shoot these guys, right? Probably okay. Can you do that with anything? Yeah, anything from your army can fall back and shoot. The Vindicators obviously can shoot in melee, but there's a ton of riders on it. So like you can only shoot in melee if you're the only thing engaging them. So if they end up engaging like a cultist unit in addition to the Vindicator can't shoot. So being able to fall back and shoot them makes a lot of sense. And then we have double obliterators, which are very good if you can death hex people a bunch of times. Because they could shoot their like mass 2 damage gun, and suddenly they actually become pretty solid. Plus, you could fall back and shoot these guys too, and reactive move them, which seems okay. Like the reactive move is infantry only, so it works on them too. Plus, you can give them hit rerolls when they target something below starting strength, which is pretty okay. Or you could use them to indirect fire to get people below starting strength, so you can then hit reroll with your Vindicators later on. What a list, chat. That's incredible. You can only Death Hex once per turn, but it lets you do it maybe twice. Is Death Hex like an exclusive ability? Like one unit can cast it? Yeah. One psyker with the ability can use it. Okay. Yeah, that's fair, chat. That's too bad. But yeah, it lets you. This is a lot of weird mechanics that I haven't actually really interacted with before, so I don't know all of the little weird things you could do. One of the benefits of like playing these weird sub detachments where your opponent literally like has no idea what's going on. Oops, excuse me. So here's an interesting thing. Soul Link doesn't require you to be on the battlefield. It requires. Yeah, it doesn't require anyone to be on the battlefield. So the Master of Executions could be in reserve, and the Terminator Sorcerer could be in reserve. And then you gain their abilities. So you can have the Master of Executions run up and gain Death Hex to Death Hex someone, even if the Terminator Sorcerer is hanging in Deep Strike. And then the next turn, you can Deep Strike the Terminator Sorcerer, and he can Death Hex naturally. So you guarantee you get 2 of them off. Or you can also just blow people up with the Chaos Lord's ability too. That's kind of neat, chat. I don't know. What a cool fucking list. What a cool list. How many Legionaries do we have? We have a unit of 10 and then 2 units of 5. I wonder if we have honestly the 10's probably like with the Mo or the Lord, right? So we can sling them. But we have attachments for all 3. And 10 with Huron is 32 OC. So you could also just use that as the world's most obnoxious utility unit, or like a disruption unit of all time, where they just plow OC onto your opponent's objectives. So even if the one time they try to get past your solid human wave of cultists, they get to an objective and you're like, I'm going to put 30 OC on it, bro. You can react and move them too. Oh man. Pretty cool, chat. Pretty cool. I like it. This list rules. Yeah, so just to go through the whole thing, because I know we jumped around a bunch of times. It's the Chaos Lord with +1 AP. Huron Blackheart. Master of Executions with Soul Link to grant him the abilities of somebody else. Terminator Sorcerer to give the ability, probably, over to your opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 times 10 cultists, 1 times 20 cultists, 1 times 10 legionaries, 2 times 5 legionaries, and then Terminators times 5, 3 Vindicators, double Obliterators. It's so neat. I love it. Cool, man. All right. Well, big shout out to Scott Peary here for playing cool shit out of Chaos Space Marines. This is kind of rules. I think it's awesome. No Cypher. Nah. Who needs Cypher? We have Huron Blackheart. I'm going to disrupt your turn with my tiny reactive move, my D6 reactive move, sir. We will not be deceiving your stratagems here. I don't know. Cool detachment. Also, unironically, I bet the explode your vehicles stratagem is actually incredible. Especially, it's anything, right? It's not keyword locked. It's anything with any enemy with deadly demise is killed. You can automatically blow it up if you have a character within 18 inches when it dies. So if you play against like you play in the demon mirror match, and like you just like, or not the demon mirror match, but like the demon matchup, right? Where they have 1 million D6 deadly demise non-titanic units, and suddenly you're like, I'm just gonna run Huron out 18 inches of a guy and then shoot it. I'm gonna shoot Bellicor with 3 like hit rerolling Vindicators or 2 hit rolling Vindicators or whatever. And suddenly, as soon as he dies, he deadly demises D6 mortal wounds to his whole army. Everyone fucking dies. You do like 30 mortal wounds to them. I bet there's a bunch of matchups where that stratagem is a nightmare. You're just constantly taking mass splash damage on all your dudes. I bet that the stratagem's actually incredible. Especially right now, where like some of the vehicle armies are just playing so many vehicles, right? You play like Land Raider, like Hurdle style Space Marines, and they have like a Land Raider that's like has to play center board, and you get like the Obliterators on it, or you get a Vindicator on it, and you kill it, and you're like, "Whoa, this is gonna be bad for you, buddy." Your whole army's about to eat D6 mortal wounds. It's insane. I bet that's really good. Silent King, the Silent King. You Titan? You just a character? No Titan? You're about to have a bad time, buddy. Oh my god. Dude, cool, man. That's a cool list. That's what we call a cool list, chat. Let's move on and talk about the other top placing army from this, the Bad Moon Brawlers. They went 4-0-1, so they went undefeated, but they did lose or they did tie around instead of winning. Shame. I have a sneaking suspicion some of these are really boring. It's Ultramarine Gladius Task Force. Okay. Eldari, I think this is definitely pre-nerf aspect toast. Yeah, whatever. We don't care about that. However, we'll talk about some of the other ones. Necrons, unchanged in the update. Starshatter Arsenal. Playing a Dread Majesty Catacomb Command Barge, so we get the nice little reroll aura. Rerolls for you. There you go. You want a little reroll? You can have a reroll. One reroll for you. You can have that. Chrono Impedance Fields and a Technomancer for -1 damage. Silent King. Canoptech Reanimator. Canoptic Spiders for 6-up Feel No Pain on Silent King, so we can stack all the buffs on him. 1 Wraith unit, plus Crypto Thralls. Death Marks, Doomsday Arc, Flayed One, Strike Sucker. Yeah, this is normal Starshatter Arsenal stuff. It is always nice to talk about Starshatter Arsenal because it's weird because Necrons feel like such a mono-list faction right now, where like you play this Starshatter Arsenal build, or you're like a weirdo and you play OBS and Phalanx, or you don't play Necrons. But we don't see as many Necrons as we used to, so it is still nice to talk about Starshatter Arsenal a little bit, even though this list is really boring. It's like they all look the same. We've basically settled on the best combination of characters and units, and this is what you play if you're not a strange person playing like Hypercrypt Legion with a Monolith. But we also had Rory Roberts over here rocking Thousand Suns in a Grand Coven. An Exalted Sorcerer with Incandium. Magnus the Red, another Sorcerer. Sorcerer with Eldritch Vortex. Interesting, it's on a Sorcerer. We don't actually see the Sorcerer Eldritch Vortex very often. Usually, it's on the either the Infernal Master guy or you put it on the Demon Prince. Very rare you see it on the Sorcerer, I feel like. It's Terminator Sorcerer with Crystal. I don't. Interesting. plus a Zangor Shaman, Rubric Marines times 15. So we have attachments for all the sorcerers, right? 1, 2, 3. Yep, we do. Nice. Plus we have 1 Mutt, 10 Scarabacol Terminators, Fake Caster, Great Bow, Zangor, Enlighten times 3, and then Zangors. Yeah, it's mostly normal. Grand Coven stuff. I'm interested in these Scarabacol Terminators, chat. Because I wonder what the record here was. This army does get a little bit better post update. This was pre-update, but post update it actually looks a little bit better. Because what's his name? Rory? Rory Roberts. He won against Votan. That does make sense. If you can twist of fate, the faction that only relies on armor saves, things gets really weird. He tied into Necrons. These two armies probably can't kill each other. He won against Dark Angels. Really? Lost to Militarum. And won against Dark Angels again. What is happening? What is Dark Angels? What are you doing? The Stormlance task force? It's like normal Deathwing spam Stormlance? I guess it's mass 1 damage in a lot of cases, so the Deathwing Knights need to go down. But that's like so fascinating. They have like good defense against mortal wounds too. Weird. I'm so interested in... Oh, I just hit the wrong button. These Scarabacol Terminators, because I'm going to level with you, chat. I think this unit's not very good. Maybe I've had weird interactions every time I played against it. But every time I played against it, it does nothing and then it dies. And it's not like a one-off situation. I think literally every time I played against Scarabacol. Oh, there was one game, I did play one game, where I played pre-buff Bird Flu. And the Scarabacol Terminators just lived forever and I couldn't kill them. And I was like, oh, this unit's annoying. But that's like 1 out of like 6 games where I've ever seen Scarabacol Terminators be effective at all. And it's like a 500 point unit. I'm so curious about these guys, chat. I don't know. I'm curious to see whether, now that the faction has been buffed a little bit, and we may see more play, whether they're still going to be effective at all. Because I don't know. It's so interesting to me. Can I say his name but was rolling all of the R's? Probably not. Rory Roberts. So many R's. Where's the WC ruling on purple up here? I have no idea. I have not seen any rulings on it. But according to other people in chats, they did do something. I don't know. Honestly, I don't pay that much attention to WCC stuff, to be perfectly frank. So anyway, chat. I don't know. Interesting. It's normal Grand Coven. It's cool to see. I guess the Sorcerer spam's interesting with the Eldritch Vortex on the Sorcerer. I'm always curious about that Terminator squad, though. It seems mid. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I play armies that are good against it or something. I don't play Dark Angels. Apparently, it's really good against Dark Angels, according to these results. I don't know, but yeah, that's the team metagame for the time being, chats. That's what I got to talk about. That's all the lists I have to discuss. Pretty fucking wild list. Abominant spam, DECEPTORS, Space Marines, Foot Death Company. It's crazy. The 4-player team format is wilding over here, and it's absolutely insane. I think what we're gonna do. So first of all, I'm about to hop over in 30 minutes or so. I'm gonna hop over on Twitch. Give a little post of my Twitch link as is tradition. There you go, chat. And I'm going to play Bird Flu. So Chaos and Tzeentch and Nurgle Demons allied together for the sake of all against Emperor's Children, Court of the Phoenician. I'm very excited because people keep telling me Court of the Phoenician is good. I think maybe I'm just bad at 40k, but I don't see it. But I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, that's what we're going to do later on. So that's it. 3:30 is the official start time, so 45 minutes from right now. So please come hang out with me over there. And They said captain willing to take a captain's vote on Infernal Puppeteer. Okay, well that makes sense. We have a Tactical Tuesday scheduled for tomorrow. I think what I want to do is talk at length about Scintillating Legion. We're going to do, as we did with Victrix Honor Guard, we're going to take a deep dive into the matchups that they're playing and what is consistently defeating Scintillating Legion. Because in my opinion, as these rules questions get ironed out and the metagame develops even further, I think it's going to become more of a problem as we move on in the future. And so, especially because it offers like a very divergent threat to something like Ultramarines. And so if those two things become the crux of the metagame, answering both of them is going to be really difficult. And so I think being able to do so efficiently is important. So I'm going to do a deep dive on that matchup tomorrow. Hang out in here and you can get the link over there. And otherwise, I'll see you on Twitch in a little bit here, chat. Thanks for watching, everyone. And I will see you in a few moments over on the Purple channel. Goodbye, everyone.